Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni. Good morning, Emmanuel.
Good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Rufai.
Morning.
Special morning greetings to Adesua.
See my smile. Good morning, Mr. Emmanuel.
Yes. Now, let's start with these day newspapers. The lead story, Mamman Daura's rejection of zoning rekindles clamour for power shifts. And expectedly, and we discussed this extensively yesterday, there's been formal reposts from a number of these socio-cultural organizations, including Ohaneze Ndigbo, Efeni Fere, PANDEV, that's the Pan-Niger Delta Forum. And just like some of the points we made yesterday, many feel that Mamman Daura was just being disingenuous because the point was made that since his uncle has taken his turn is 5 years into his 8th year of 2 terms, he can afford to make this kind of statement. And Ohaneze are asking the questions. Are the service chiefs the most competent among their colleagues to warrant their being retained beyond their tenure? It's a question they're asking. Of course, the point being made is that until Nigeria is properly restructured in such a way that the center is not as attractive as it is today, being the point from where we dispense favors and largesse, then we must continue to have this power rotation. And I think that is a fair point to be made, that this call in itself is unwarranted, but the political parties, yes, that power rotation emanated from the PDP constitution, but it has been adopted by at least the major political parties as a way of distributing political offices. And the APC has come out to say that Mamman Daura was only expressing a personal opinion, which is entitled to as a Nigerian. Ruben, Rufai, and Adesua.
Well, indeed, we talked about this yesterday, and I just came up, with some questions. Is it impossible to have equitable power distribution? Let me take that back, because those from the Southeast will say it's not equitable if they've not got a chance. So is it impossible to have power rotation and have competence at the same time? When Mamman Daura says rotational power has failed, is this an admission of failure on successive governments, including that of his uncle, President Muhammadu Buhari? And how can we have competence when we have political parties who cannot even guarantee internal democracies of their own parties? And finally, who decides really who is competent? And what is a competent person?
Well, I mean, interesting questions.
Ruben, just before you come on, okay. I want to state clearly that competence and rotation are not mutually exclusive. Ruben, over to you.
Yes, I was going to say more or less the same thing, which was the point we made yesterday, that, look, you can have rotation and still have competent people, people who are qualified. Now, in the sense that no particular part of the country has a monopoly of talent. Yes. And that has been proven by all the various achievements that we have seen by persons from different parts of the country. What many Nigerians are concerned about, you raised the question about equity. Yeah. Now, yes, equity is important. In fact, that was the point that was made by Chief Nwodo, the president of the Ohaneze Ndigbo. And that beyond competence, beyond rotation, we should be talking about equity. That no Igbo man has been president under this dispensation from 1999. Yeah. And that, in fact, 2023 We should be focusing on ensuring that power is zoned to the southeast and that the Igbos have more than enough competent people who can also run Nigeria. Now, there is ethnic politics involved in all of this. And the major criticism against Mamman Daura is that since 1999, we've been maintaining a rotational principle. First, we had President Obasanjo from the Southwest. He was succeeded by President Yaradua. And the argument is that when President Yaradua died and President Jonathan succeeded him, the North was against it on the basis that it was their turn and they could not allow a Southerner to use part of their own tenure. Yeah. Do you understand? Yeah. You know, and then of course that was restored when we now had President Buhari emerging in 2015, right? And now in 2023, it is expected that power should come back to the South. And the argument by many of those who reacted to Mamman Daura's point is that he's been deceitful. He wants power to stay in the North. And that, look, it is not now that he will talk about that. He should allow power to keep going round, even if it is not in the Constitution. Yeah. It was originally a PDP arrangement. And I hope, well, I mean, the conversation is very useful because all of a sudden now we're back to that issue about equity, about justice, about sense of belonging, inclusivity, and restructuring, which is what the Efeni is insisting upon. And other statesmen like Chief Edwin Clark and Chief Ayo Adebanjo, they've also joined this conversation to say that, look, rotation is okay, but restructuring is also important.
So I'm going to be very crass here. I think it's when it favors us we cry rotation. And I'll take you back to the elections before independence, how that played out. To a large extent, I think that's the origin of all of this. It was easier for the NCNC to do a partnership with the MPC, leaving the action group out, when we know to a large extent there was nothing wrong with the action group forming a coalition. So it's so easy for us that we play this politics of rotation. But most importantly, when it comes to competence, I'd just like to remember the words of Abraham Lincoln that says, don't ascribe to malice what you can explain with incompetence. The leadership over the years has been incompetence because we ascribe it to various forms of malice, like, oh, it's not from my side, they don't like me, they don't like the other person, which is necessarily not true. We like to play this game that favors us. Like the Efeni was saying yesterday, that why are you saying this when it's close to election? It's not another ploy to say, okay, maybe this will go to the North. We don't want to start making calculations, but it is two things I know from. Is when it favors us, we're pushing the card of rotation, and now we are trying to push in the card of, competence and the likes. Let's just be sincere. I think if we are truly sincere in this country, we will not need to go through this rigmarole. Just
but before you say something, Efeni, you know, at the root of all of this is the concern about what was described as the northernization of power in Nigeria, particularly during military rule. Yeah. And when the PDP came up in 1999 with this idea of rotation and zoning, it was to give every part of the country a sense of belonging.
As some parts got it till today?
Because, yeah, well, that's why some other, the Igbos are saying it must also come to us before you put a moratorium on it. So, and that's the issue about equity and justice.
Yes, maybe Mamman Daura was only flying a kite, but now we are discussing it and everybody is making its position known. Let's move on to other issues. Vanguard newspaper, Southern Kaduna, self-defense way out of killings. Christian elders. Well, the National Christian Elders Forum are saying that Christians should be alert and act proactively instead of just being sitting duck to be slaughtered by whoever is behind these killings, whether they are Fulanis or they are bandits. But that is for the security agencies to unearth. And of course, these elders include Chief Solomon Asamota, General Danjuma, of course, Professor Joseph Otubu, General Joshua Dongoyaro. They are saying, please be alert and act proactively.
Anyway, thank you very much, Emmanuel Efeni. That's all we'll be able to take.